that was fun. I'm having fun. Are you having fun? Yeah. Are you living your best life? Are you moving towards your best self? If not, then why? Why? Well, I bet we know why. Maybe this has happened to you. About midlife, I looked into the mirror and I'm like, whoa, who's that staring back at me? And I bet you all know why. I didn't recognize myself. I gotten so busy being a mother, an executive, leadership executive, volunteer, wife, mother, daughter, sister, I mean, you name it. We've all been there, just so busy. And then one day I stopped to check myself out. And I'm like, oh my God, you've gained a little weight. In fact, I gained so much weight that my clothes weren't fitting well, and my closet was filling with those body disguising, stretchy clothing. Right. And then, you know, I noticed all those wrinkles that stress puts on your face, and I had what they call resting bitch face. That's not who I was inside. No, that's not right. So, anyway, I bet you all have had this happen. Can you relate? Yeah. So what if I could tell you that putting a little bit of movement, expressive movement, would bring joy into your life and get your mojo back? Would you do it? Yes. Would you embrace it? Yes. Yeah, so I'm Wildheart. Now that name was given to me by a wild Mustang named Thera, and I've decided to embrace it. I'm a somatic movement therapist, certified at the Omega Institute. I am a universal movement catalyst and an executive coach. And I am here to tell you today about the freedom of movement and how we can get back in our bodies and feel and have a much better time in life. So movement saved my life. When I came back from the Omega Institute, where I had gotten my certification as the movement therapist, my husband informed me, my husband and father of my 2 toddlers informed me that he had fallen in love with someone else, a younger woman, of course. But when I realized that it wasn't just a fling, the devastation and the nasty divorce set in. So one night, everything was kind of crashing down on me, and I found myself in a fetal position on the floor. For real, I couldn't move. My heart stood still, my breath was not even there, and only the thought of leaving those poor boys with that father started my heart beating again. And because my heart started beating again, I told myself, you have to move something. Move something. Literally, it started off with a finger. I was like, okay, that's all I can do. Eventually, I pulled myself off of the gravity, the heavy gravity of the floor, and I kind of crawled over to the stereo and turned on some music. As I started to move, I made myself move, right? I was just breathing, and then all of a sudden, wow, just all the tears and the sadness just started expressing through my body, my mind, my crying and guttural screams possibly. And then I did it until I got completely exhausted and drained. Except what was left was the possibility that everything is gonna be okay. And it's the power of that experience that I bring you that possibility today. So, what kind of movement am I talking about? Moving from that chair to the refrigerator? Nah, no. What I'm talking about is the somatic expressive methods, 6 elemental movements with the music. So let's start. So we're going to talk about the element, and then the music quality, and then the messages that are there. So the first one is wood. Think about wood. Wood is the structure. Wood keeps you from being an amoeba on the floor. It actually gets you off the floor, and it's about being strong and structure. So the movement part of this is shaking, right? It's about shaking just your bones. I know you can do this in your seats. So you're shaking things off. It's about getting the juice that's in between the joints, I call it joint juice, back there. So it kind of lubricates. So that's what bones are about. Structure, boundaries, right? You can be silly too. It is fun. Anyway, the next element is fire. Fire burns. And if you block fire, it's like your anger explodes. But if you allow fire to move through you, it's like the pumping earth, blood. Think of African dance. Think about life. So you can pump any part of your body that you want to. Hips are particularly fun. Thighs, right? So it's all about pumping with fire. So the next element is water. What do we know about water? Water flows. Water goes to the path of least resistance. And so it's about flexibility, adaptability. Where could we use more of that in our life, right? So just doing the movements of water, connecting every part of you, like toes up to your nose, ears, to be able to move your entire body and just let it flow like you're swimming through water or honey, right? Think of sexy. Think of sensuality. Again, it's about being in your body and enjoying it. The next element is earth. Earth is the bottom line. Earth is about always having your support system there, and knowing that, say, Mother Earth is there to support you, gives you the ability to let go, release, surrender, and then you're going to bounce back. But to be able to surrender and release, you have earth. You have earth. It's called rebound. So movements in the earth section are about feeling the rebound. So it's about swinging. You could do a little waltz. Again, these are all your movements. These are just the qualities, which is kind of fun. So the next element is metal. Metal. Metal is about being precise, going from point A to point B. It's about making decisions. It's about being direct, right? So you'll be direct in your movements. So you make a decision in life and you go for it, right? So it's all about dedication and commitment. Where could we use a little more of that in our life, right? The last element is air. Air is about incorporating all the movements together, but think of clouds. Think of being as light as a feather. That's freedom. Freedom comes from lightening up. And for those who can't meditate sitting down in lotus position, well, here you go. This is your movement. Close and take on just the lightness and integration and freedom. So now we're talking about all this movement. Speaking of movement, has anybody ever been constipated? Nope, you don't have to raise your hands. Seriously, you don't. But I bet you know what it feels like. You feel kind of stuck, barricaded, blocked, thick, and maybe just not quite yourself, certainly not sexy until, there is that release. So, did you know that you can be emotionally and mentally constipated? Do you know what that looks like? Depression, stuck in a job, stuck in a relationship, stuck where you just don't feel like you can move, like there is no movement in your life. I just can't do that. I know. Where do you think some of this constipation or barrier comes from? Fear. It starts out as fear. And so what we do, as we know in the old adage, you fight when fear is present. So you want to get in there and really just battle it out, and that's where the explosion comes, like a volcano, and everybody else gets your lava. Probably not a good thing. Or flight. Run away, I'm out of here, thanks, see, I'm not gonna, but does that ever go away when you run away from it? Mm-mm. And the last one is freeze. And that's what I did. Paralyzed, can't do anything. Not doing anything. Maybe if I just don't do anything, it'll go away. There is a fourth F. And the fourth F I'm going to tell you all about later. So here's how the somatic expressive method works. I'm going to take a client, Brianna. Brianna grew up in a family that was super critical, hypercritical. And so she grew up and feeling not good enough, never good enough, can never do the right thing and never do it right, whatever it is. She developed bulimia, and her boundaries were so bad that she allowed men to do things that she probably would not want normally. So lack of boundaries, she had lack of self-confidence. Shows up in my studio just for the curiosity of it. And I'm like, okay, put on some music, let's move. Move with me. I can't. Okay, why don't you move, dance, act like no one's watching you. I was always being watched, tears. Even when I was playing with my dolls, I was told to stand up straight. I'm like, okay. And I put a scarf over her head, fully over her head and shoulders. And I said, no one can see you. Now breathe into your lower body. Breathe and let that breath move you, right? So she didn't have to move herself. She did start moving. She started moving. She started crying. She started really crying, really releasing. What she told me later was this stuck sadness that was stuck in her lower body, that her creativity has exploded since then because she unearthed it and let it come up. And now she's a really, really well-known artist. And she's helping other people get in touch with their intuitive voice. It's a great way to spread the love. So this formula for the somatic expressive method is simple. It's shift. It starts with shift. What is shift? Shift means you start to move. You start to move. You go from status quo to where you want to go. So move. That's it. Add movement into your life. The next is acknowledgement. So once you start moving, you're like, whew, I'm not, stuck in that chair anymore. It's like, whoa, but that hurts. Oh, I've got something in my throat, my stomach. You start to feel. Acknowledge it. It's okay. Don't walk away from it. Don't fight it. Allow it to be there. Acknowledgement is about that fourth F. Flow with it. Flow. Third, express. Let that thing express. If it's got a word to it, or if you want to scream about it, or pound about it, let it come through your body because it's stuck in your body. That's where our stories stay. It's in our bodies. Unless you release it. Express it. Give it a voice. Let it speak, because when it got in there, it wasn't given a voice. And last is to connect. Once you have expressed that, you might feel exhausted afterwards, you have space now to connect. And you're like, connect with who? Connect with what? And I'm like, connect with your inner voice. Connect with your creativity. Connect with the love for yourself, the love for your body and your being and your path. And once that's there, then it's amazing how you can connect with others. So, one more story. Bob. Bob showed up in one of my workshops at the Omega Institute. He did the workshop called Dancing with Fear. And the participants were asked actually to step into those scary, shadowy places, the things we don't talk about, the secrets in our life, the things we think nobody knows about and they should never, ever know about it. Anyway, at the end of this workshop, we all circled up and we shared our experiences. And Bob said, I got in touch with the tumor in my head. He said, I just ignored that it was there. I just acted like it was not a part of me. He says, but I let it talk to me. And I realized that it was okay. And that me and my tumor are okay together. And what's happened to Bob was 2 weeks later, I watched him and he was incredibly engaged with all the people around, like telling jokes. And I asked him, he said, I'm so much more confident and more comfortable in my own skin that I can engage with the people that I really want to be friends with. It's amazing. It is powerful. And so within that, you know that movement classes create community. For 10 years, I had a class for mothers, 10 o'clock on Thursday mornings. Everybody was asked to check all their worries and anxieties, thoughts, everything at the door. I said, you can pick it up when you want to, on the way out, if you want to. And we would circle up and we would share about everything from births and deaths, divorces, to joyful reunions, graduations, all that. We shared. It was a very sacred circle, and we loved to dance together. And to see a group of people move uniquely to the same beat, to me, is a beautiful model of cohesive oneness. I mean, movement and movement classes, to me, are very, very powerful. You relate? So what can you do? What can you do? Simply add movement in your life. Move, get up. If you're sitting there, if you're standing there, if you're facing this, it's like, whew, you know that just moving a little bit to the right or left, it's like you've changed your perspective? So move. Put on a song. Stop every day. Try this for 7 days. Stop once a day. Put on your favorite music, put on some music, and express. I mean, you may have some real anger at that moment, so maybe like, do it. Do it. When you get back in your seat, my goodness, will you feel better. So yeah, add daily movement. We're doing that. You can join the Wild Heart community. We have online classes, and you can join a community and then have the online classes so that you're with your people dancing, creating community. Whatever you do at the last part of the day, move. And so we're going to end here with a little bit of movement. If you feel like getting into the aisles, you can, and dance, since you have such a large group. So, the music's coming up. And y'all hear it. It happens to be Vogue, one of my favorite. And it's about striking a pose. So everybody get unique and strike your own pose. Even if it's in the chair, you can strike your own pose, right? Yeah, all right, striking poses. Yeah, show your uniqueness. Yeah. I guess they can hear the music. Oh, good. Okay. Okay, she's starting to get going.
Strike the pose.
Everybody strike their own poses. Have fun. Moving around.
Strike the pose.
Yeah. So everybody want to strike a pose? So all of you uniquely are beautiful. You're beautiful. But you want to know the most beautiful thing that anybody can wear? Your happiness. Thank you so much.